What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and got one question. For all the haters out there, for all of you Chelsea fans who claim that Chilwell was not going to be a good signing, he's too overpriced, he's not good enough, he's overrated. What you got to say now? Go on, I'll wait. Oh yeah, I can't hear any of you. You're all idiots. Okay, not idiots, but seriously. Like, is anybody doubting Ben Chilwell is going to be a good left back for us after this game? Like, what a great game. The only downside to this match, the only problem I have with it, is that it comes right before the international break, which means we now have a little bit of time to lose this momentum that we just finally got. So it could be beneficial, it could hurt. It all sort of depends. I don't remember everybody who's being called up to play internationally. Hopefully, no injuries that we have to worry about, no injuries we have to deal with. Fingers crossed on that. But yeah, I mean, fantastic game today. First of all, we'll talk about Frank, because I've had my issues with him. I've had my issues with some of his decisions. In my opinion, not too bad today. I will say I wanted to see Pulisic get some more time than just 10 minutes. I thought he made those subs a little too late. Kovacic for Conte, I mean, I don't really have a problem with. I don't think Jorginho deserved to be on the field more than Conte and Kovacic, but it is what it is, I think he's just at this point trying to keep people from running themselves to death, trying to keep people from re-injuring themselves. So I think that was kind of the thinking there. But the lineup was really good. First of all, Mendy makes his first start in the Premier League. And then the back four, I'm a big fan of. You got Chilwell and Dave finally at fullbacks, which I still think are our strongest fullbacks right now. I know a lot of people think James, he needs to play. I do agree, but I also think that Dave is still more consistent right now. So playing Dave, I feel like, is a much better option than playing James right now. And that's only because we need that experience. James, he's going to grow. He's going to take the spot from him eventually. He's eventually going to reach that potential. I believe it. But right now, he's not what we need, and he's not really having good games at the moment. He did play pretty well. Don't remember which game it was now, but he had one good game since we started up the season. But he had a few games where he just didn't really do much of anything. So yeah, I'm not really for the idea of James needs to take Azpilicueta's place right now, because Azpilicueta is still your best option there. Like, hate to tell you, and I'll get to more reasons why later, but in my opinion, this is our best fullback lineup, is Chilwell and Azpilicueta. And then in the middle, Zuma and Silva. Still a little hesitant on Silva, still not really sure where he is, his couple mistakes that he's made, is that going to become a habit? Is it just a slip because he's still growing into the team? I don't know. But having him alongside Zuma is much more safe and much more assured than having him alongside Christensen. And that's only because I still don't rate Christensen that highly. I don't think he's good enough to be playing there. So I like the back four. I think it's fine. The midfield two, you got Jorginho and Conte. I would still like to see Kovacic over Jorginho, but at the same time, I think the idea is you have Conte to be your runner in there. You're hardworking, win it back, break up the play, and then Jorginho is supposed to be more the distributor. I don't think Jorginho is doing a great job of being distributor right now, but I think that's the idea behind it, so I don't mind it as much. And then you've got Werner, Havertz, Hudson-Odoi, and then Abraham up top, which I like that front four. I like the fact that Mount is getting a break because he's been run to death, I feel like. I still think Mount is a good player. I've seen a lot of Chelsea fans that are like, oh, he needs to sit the bench, he needs to be bench more, he's not good enough. I still think he's a very effective player. He's a player that puts a lot of pressure on the defense. He works hard for the team. He's a player I still want to see play. I just don't think you can play him 3-4 games in a row, full 90 minutes, because he can't continue to go at the pace he does. Because he puts in 110%. It's just, is that 110% all of it, or is it what he has left he's given 110% of? And most of the time it's what he has left, because he played like 4 matches, 90 minutes within a week and a half, I think, or something close to that. So I like the fact that he's getting a break today, because in my opinion, it's a hard-earned break. So, but anyways, so that's it for Frank. I didn't really have any issues with the subs. Get Pulisic on, get Kovacic on for some minutes. That's fine. I would have liked to see him give Mount a couple minutes too, just because confidence-wise, I'm sure he's hurting from midweek. So I would like to see him give him some minutes just so he could build that confidence back up a little bit. Because especially for a young player to be the one that misses the final penalty to lose, I can't imagine that's good for the confidence levels. So I would have liked to see him give him some time just to show, hey, I still have faith in you. I'm still going to continue to pick you, and maybe let him do something today. When we're already 3-4 nothing up, so that way he can also get that confidence in himself as well. But aside from that, everything else I thought Frank did well today. I think his picks were really well done. Um, as far as individual performances, Mendy didn't really have a whole lot to do today, but when he was called upon, I still think he's just so much more solid back there. Because first of all, he's a big presence. Like he's anytime a cross comes in, anytime the ball's in the air, I have confidence that if it's near him, he's gonna beat defenders to it. With Kepa, I didn't have that confidence. Like even if he did decide to go, which most of the time he didn't, but if he did decide to go, I was still worried that it was going to be either a weak punch or he was going to get beaten to it. I didn't have confidence he was going to win out in the air. Now I have confidence that our keeper is going to win the ball. So that's one big thing. And the other big thing is just he seems much more energetic than Kepa does. Like he seems like he's always bouncing up and like I don't know what it is about him. He just looks more athletic than Kepa does. In my opinion, I just look at him and I think he's gonna make a save. He's gonna put his full effort in, no matter what, 100%. With Kepa, there's always that kind of you look at him and sometimes it seems like he's not really ready. Sometimes it seems like he's sort of chilling back there. And there are certain players that they have that demeanor about them, but there's something about the way they play. Like Havertz is a player. Sometimes it looks like he's not working that hard, but when he gets on the ball, suddenly he can just turn it on. And it doesn't really look like he's moving that fast, but he does. His quickness, like the way he strides, it looks like he's not trying too hard, but he still is very effective. With Kepa, it's almost like that same thing, but he doesn't have the same ability, as Havertz does. Like I don't really know how to describe it, but just looking at Kepa, looking at Mendy looks like a keeper. Mendy looks like his shot stopper. He looks like a keeper who's gonna give you everything he's got. Kepa doesn't. From not moving his feet, from not looking ready, from not really being a physically imposing keeper, he just never really looked like he's gonna be a world beater. And so I'm glad we got Mendy in, and for a bargain too, compared to what Kepa came in for. Anyway, so moving on from that though, as far as the back line is concerned, Dave had a very solid game. The one thing I wanted to bring up though, aside from his play, the reason to have him on the field, you look at the penalty. You look at that final penalty, he steps in because who's your penalty kick taker? It's Jorginho. And yes, I know Tammy wants to get on the score sheet. He's a young striker. I love the fact that he wants to get on the score sheet, but your captain steps in and says, hey, he's the penalty kick taker. Come on. Let's step out of here. Let's give him his room. He's the one that's designated to take penalties. We don't go against the plan for this. If we get a penalty, he's taking it. That's so important to have. Because who else is going to do that? And the thing is, I think Azpilicueta does this most of the time. He doesn't do it a lot, but he has these moments where he steps up as a captain, and I'm just like, that's why you have him on the field. That's why you have him out there, because he's willing to step up in moments like this and say, hey, come on, let's step out of here. It doesn't happen very often, but in my opinion, it just shows what a good captain he can be. And I wish he did have more moments like this, because I can remember several moments of Terry's career where he was doing very captain-like things, separating people. Things would spark up and flare up, and he would be the one to try to calm them down to get somebody out of there. I wish Azpilicueta did more of that, but in a moment like this, it really shows. And honestly, I thought Abraham's response mainly was because of how Azpilicueta sort of calmed the situation down. because I thought Abraham responded really well after that. Went over, congratulated on the goal, and then worked hard after that. So yeah, you cannot under you cannot underestimate. Lost the word for a second. You can't underestimate the importance of having a good captain out there, and I thought that was a great moment for him. Silva today wasn't great, but also was solid. Obviously much more solid than West Brom, but it doesn't take much to do that. But he looked much more up to the pace. He looked much more ready and raring to play, which is good to see. Hopefully, he can continue to performances like that together because we need that from him. We need him to be a bit more of a leader through his play and sort of bring a bit more calmness. Zuma, very good defender, but on the ball still have some issues here and there, still have some worrying moments where it seems like he just can lose control of it for a second and it might end up being bad. So that's the one thing that I think Zuma needs to work on more than anything is just keeping the ball under control, working on that passing, working on much calmer passing. Because Silva seems to have that down pat. So I think the two of them working together might be a beneficial relationship there. Chilwell, I'm pretty sure he won man of the match, which isn't too surprising. But just both sides of the ball, defensively and on the attack, very effective. He's a very effective player. And again, the reason why I preferred having Chilwell over Reguilon, over, I don't remember, Tagliafico, I think was the other guy we were looking at. The reason I wanted Chilwell, even if he was going to cost more than those guys, he's proven he can cut it in the Premier League. Those other guys have not. And like I said, watching Reguilon play for Sevilla against Man U last season, he looked like an Emerson. And we don't need another Emerson. And look what happened to Tottenham. I know they ended up beating us, but their goal comes from him making a mistake and then losing out in the defensive battle, sliding in recklessly. And then we get the goal off of that. So you bring in a player that's already doing it in the Premier League and doing it at a high level too, playing for a team like Leicester, who's won the league 4 or 5 years ago now, and they were almost top four last season, dropped off near the end of the season, of course, but Chilwell was injured, so you kind of have to say, how much did he contribute to them making top four, or almost making top four last season? But yeah, his performance today was fantastic. Only can think of one mistake that he made. He might have made a couple others, but there was just a moment where he got caught stepping up and then player got in behind. But even then, watching him run back was so refreshing because when Alonso or when Emerson gets beat behind, little trot getting back to the goal while the other team is breaking. With him, he gets beaten behind, pass goes behind him because we gave away the ball and he was up the field a bit. Pass goes behind him. The wing that's on his side is breaking down. Zuma's going to cover, and he's coming back in on a sprint. And I'm like, that's so nice to have because we've not had that at left back for a while. So that it's a huge thing in my opinion. Huge contribution he brings to the field, and the goal was just oh my lord. Like I'm watching it, and the keeper didn't move, but this is not a situation of like with Kepa where he like set himself and then he was rooted to the ground so he couldn't do anything. It was just struck with so much power. I think the keeper literally just blinked and then the ball was already hitting the net. He's like, what just happened? It was just a strike. Anyways, moving on to the midfield. Conte today, much more solid again than we saw at West Brom, which he did come on against Tottenham and look much more solid than he did against West Brom, which is good because I was really worried after that West Brom game. I'm like, Conte, what's going on? Is this Conte? Did somebody steal Conte? What's happening? But yeah, much better today. And, even though he still doesn't do much going forward, he just helps keep so much, I guess, defensive calmness. I know I'm saying calmness a lot, but I mean, he really does help your defense out because he's willing to be in there, be in that space. And even if he's giving away fouls, even if he's missing out on tackles, he's still putting pressure on, which breaks up the play, which allows other players to get behind the ball and help defend. And when he does it, when he's doing it well, when he's performing well, you can't understate how important that is to have. So I hope he can continue to go at this level. I think there's a bit of thinking of that, like resting his legs when Lampard took him off second half. But yeah, in my opinion, if he can continue to put in performances like we've seen the last two games, I think we have a good chance of at least battling for the title. Maybe not winning, but battling would be nice. And then Jorginho, he was probably our weakest player today, but I will say it's been his best performance so far this season. I saw him put forward some balls that he hasn't been doing. He was working hard. He was winning back possession. He looked a bit more like the player that I remember from beginning of last season when I was thinking, oh, Lampard's doing well with Jorginho. So I hope this is a sign of things to come for him. It's just that everybody else was performing better, I thought, than he was. So it wasn't that he had a bad game. It's just everybody else had a better game than he did. But again, I do think this has been his best performance so far this season. I hope that he can put together a good run of performances here because we do need somebody who can distribute in the midfield. We need that type of player. And if he can continue to do it, then fantastic. So the three in behind the striker. First, I'll talk Hudson-Odoi because I thought this was the first game where I didn't see him fading in the second half since we started the season. Every game he's started, he's faded as the game went on. He came on as a sub in a couple games and did well. He started a couple games, did well first half, but then slowly faded out. This one he started pretty well, and then second half was still playing pretty well. He was still working hard, still winning the ball, still being involved in the play, which is the big problem he had. He just kept fading out slowly. Like I started to notice Hudson-Odoi being involved less and less and less as the game would go on. But today he was still involved. And I know he came off as a sub, but he came off as a sub in the 80th minute, which means he had plenty of time to fade out if he, would, but he didn't today. And I think that's very important going forward because there's been a lot of talk about will he leave, will he stay, will he go out on loan. I honestly think at this point he deserves to stay with some of the performances he put on. He looks like he wants to stay. He looks like he's actually fighting for that spot again, and that's very important to have. So I really hope that these performances have given Lampard enough faith to at least have him as an option because, we will be playing a lot of games too between FA Cup, Champions League, and then Premier League. I would like to have him as an option, but at the same time, I also understand that, you've got Werner can play wing, you've got Pulisic and Ziyech should be your starting wings once Ziyech is fully fit and Pulisic's fully fit. So it is going to be hard for him to get time, but at the same time, if somebody gets hurt or if fatigue is setting in, Hudson-Odoi would be a good little burst of energy to put out there and let him run. So I hope he can continue to do that. Havertz, for me, underrated performance today. He did win a penalty, but he didn't score anything, so he didn't end up on the four-man choice on Twitter for who's your man of the match. And I think that's very underrated in my opinion. He deserved, I don't think he beats out Chilwell, but I think he's easily second man of the match in my opinion. Because, oh my God, he was all over the pitch. He was constantly being a part of the play. He was constantly setting up the play. It just felt like he was the one that a lot of our play was coming through. And that's what we need out of him. That's whenever we got him, that was my thought was if we can get an attacking mid that can be the center of a lot of our attacks, that would be great. And that's exactly what he's doing. And it was fantastic today to watch him play because he just, every single time I'm just sitting there thinking oh, Havertz is there again. Oh, Havertz is there again. Wait, wasn't he just over there? How is he already over here? It was brilliant. Because the thing is, I was worried beginning of the season. There were a couple iffy performances where it felt like he wasn't really giving it his all. Today, he gave it his all. And it showed. The scoreline definitely showed it. Even defensively, that's one thing I didn't think I would say about Havertz. I figured Havertz was going to be one of those players that, on the attack, he's good. With the ball, he's good. He keeps possession. He'll help put pressure. But today, he was working back, too, and winning some tackles. Hey, if he can continue to do that, he could really make a case for being one of the players of the season. And then Werner was the last. He was on the left side. Better. I talked a bit about it in the Tottenham match, how he hasn't really done a whole lot. He's not been very effective. He's just sort of been out there and then not really seen much from him. Today, still not very effective. In the final third, it felt like he wasn't really getting on the ball as much. But I feel like I was seeing a lot of work ethic out of him. I was seeing him work to try to get on the ball, which is something I didn't really see much in the Tottenham match, which is good. I would say, I mean, kind of similar to Jorginho, it was one of his good performances, but I think the players around him just performed so much better that he was another one of our weaker players today. But it wasn't because of a lack of work ethic. It was mainly just because he couldn't get involved. And so I do wonder how much of it is just give him time out on the wing and how much of it is no, we need to just keep him up at striker. Like that's his best position. You can't really play him anywhere else. So it's kind of a hit or miss thing because if you do decide to play him at striker, well now Abraham and Giroud, they're not going to get as much time. Also, it means that you're going to have to force like Mason Mount in there until Pulisic and Ziyech are fully fit. So I don't really know what the answer is. Maybe it's going to require a bit of like shuffling during the match. Like sometimes he'll step up and Abraham will drop back a bit. Maybe sometimes you go with two strikers, and he's the second one that's making runs in behind while Abraham and Giroud, whoever's playing, they're more your target man with their height. So I feel like there's a lot of options, but right now I don't feel like playing Werner out on the wing is his best position. I think it takes a lot away from his game. He likes to get in behind a lot. And I just think if he's out on the wing, it's harder to get in behind and be effective there. Whereas if you're in the middle and you're beating the last defender, obviously you're a lot more effective there. So, but yeah, I will definitely say though that Werner deserves respect for the amount of work he's put in. And then Abraham obviously didn't get on the score sheet today, but he did win a penalty and he worked his butt off. And that's one thing that if I'm Dave, if I'm the captain, and he's sitting there and he wants a goal, I pull him away and I say, hey, look, you played great today. You don't need a goal to show that. You don't need a goal to show that you've had a good game today. This is obviously the other part is this is part of the plan. He's the one that's supposed to take penalties, so let him do his job. But I would just let him know, hey, you've had a great game today. Keep working hard after this. Maybe you can get a goal before the end. And it looks like he did just that. There was the one point where Werner tried to make a little flick happen, but he didn't read that. But he was working hard. There's even a point where all of a sudden he's working back to win the ball at the top of the box for us. And I'm thinking, if he was mentally put off by the fact that he wasn't allowed to take a penalty, he's not showing it with his play. And that's fantastic. For a young player like that, a young striker, to not get a goal but still work his butt off. I know he's probably frustrated he didn't get a goal, but his play didn't show it. There are a lot of young players that when their heads drop, their play drops significantly. I didn't see that today from him. So I really have to appreciate what he did today and just how hard he worked for the team as well. So yeah, all in all, good first team or good starting players today. Really good performances all around. No bad performances. And then the two subs that come on, they came on late. Pulisic on for Hudson-Odoi and then Kovacic on for Conte. Kovacic, basically does what Kovacic does. Works hard, runs around, tries to win the ball. When he does, he works hard to keep possession and keep the ball moving. And Pulisic, good first 10 minutes back from him today. He had some really good touches. He looks like he's eager to get out there and play, so that's really exciting to see. But yeah, 4-0 win against Palace, who've been playing really well this season as well. That's a statement. That's a good statement to make right before the break. Hopefully we come back with the same momentum. Hopefully we come back with the same energy. Because if we have more games like that in us, this could be a really good season for us because we're finally getting back to full fitness. We're finally getting in these players that we brought in to make us better, like Chilwell, like Mendy, like Ziyech and Pulisic and Werner and Havertz. All these players that are just injecting this energy into the team, and it's getting me excited. So, yeah, all in all, fantastic game today. Looking forward to us coming back from the break. It's going to be a long couple weeks without it, but it'll be worth the wait, I believe. So, with all that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on the game today? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys at the next game. Peace out.